And welcome. Today, we're diving into a high-stakes battle of wits where the fate of an entire kingdom hangs on a single choice. A choice between a perfect, logical plan and a deeply flattering lie.
It's a fascinating question, right? I mean, when you're up against a flawless strategy, a guaranteed win, what kind of countermove could possibly work? Well, that is the exact dilemma at the very heart of our story today.
So, let's set the scene. We're in ancient Israel. The great King David, the giant slayer, the unifier of the kingdom, well, he's now a fugitive. He has just been overthrown in a shocking coup led by his own son, Absalom.
David is literally running for his life, forced to flee his own capital city, Jerusalem. His power has completely crumbled. This is a king at his absolute lowest point.
And to really get a picture of how far he's fallen, just listen to this. As David and his followers are escaping, a man named Shimei stands up on a ridge, screaming curses at him, throwing stones and dirt, just publicly humiliating the former king.
Now, what's really telling here is David's reaction. His men are furious. They want to go execute Shimei right there on the spot. But David stops them. He actually believes that God is allowing this to happen as a punishment for his own past sins. So for David, this isn't some random injustice. He sees it as a reckoning.
So, while David is out in the wilderness enduring all this shame, his son Absalom is making this triumphant entry back into Jerusalem. And he's not alone. He has just secured the loyalty of maybe the most respected strategic mind in the entire kingdom.
And at the center of this new power dynamic is Absalom's new counselor, a man named Ahithophel. Now, this guy's advice was considered so flawless, so perfect, it was like hearing from God himself. And he has a two-part plan to make sure Absalom's throne is secure forever.
Ahithophel's first move is just pure political theater. He tells Absalom to publicly take possession of the 10 concubines that David left behind. In that culture, this was a brutal, public statement. It was a way of signaling to all of Israel that David was never coming back and that any bond between father and son was completely, irrevocably shattered.
Okay, with that political statement made, Ahithophel reveals his military masterstroke. It's simple, it's swift, and it is absolutely lethal. He says, "Give me 12,000 elite soldiers, and we attack David tonight while his group is exhausted and vulnerable. The plan? Kill only David. Once the king is dead, the rebellion just fizzles out." It was, for all intents and purposes, a perfect plan.
But David had one last desperate play. Before he left Jerusalem, he sent a loyal friend, a man named Hushai, on a secret mission. Pretend to defect, get inside Absalom's inner circle, and do whatever you can to frustrate Ahithophel's counsel from the inside.
So Hushai goes to Absalom and proclaims his new allegiance. Now, of course, Absalom is suspicious. This was his father's closest friend, but Hushai's words are a masterclass in flattery. He plays right into Absalom's deep-seated need for legitimacy, and it quickly convinces the new king that he's loyal.
And this, right here, is the crucial point. Hushai is smart enough to know he can't argue with the logic of Ahithophel's plan. It's militarily perfect. So instead of attacking the logic, he attacks Absalom's ego.
Hushai paints a completely different, much grander picture. He basically says, don't just send Ahithophel. No, you, King Absalom, you should gather a massive army from all of Israel. Let it be a grand spectacle, and you will personally lead this glorious force to crush your father. He makes the victory bigger, more heroic, and all about Absalom.
And so the stage is set. Absalom has two very different pieces of advice in front of him. One is a guaranteed victory. The other is a glorious gamble. The entire rebellion now hinges on this one decision.
The choice really couldn't be clearer. On one side, you have Ahithophel's plan, a fast, low-risk, surgical strike based on pure logic. And on the other side, you have Hushai's plan, a slow, high-risk spectacle that appeals directly to Absalom's ego and his desire for glory.
And then, in this absolutely stunning turn of events, Absalom and all the elders of Israel make their choice. They reject the perfect plan. And why? Because Hushai's flattering, grandiose vision simply sounded better. Now, the story itself offers a theological reason for this incredibly foolish decision. It says that God was actually at play here, clouding Absalom's judgment specifically to ensure his downfall. The perfect plan was thwarted not by better logic, but by divine intervention. This one decision immediately sets off a whole chain of dramatic consequences. The moment that council meeting is over, a race against time begins.
See, Hushai's counterplan bought David precious time. He immediately kicks off this desperate intelligence relay. The message goes from Hushai to some priests, to a servant girl, to the priest's sons, who then have to run through the night to find David with one urgent warning. You have to cross the Jordan River tonight, or you will be captured.
But for the brilliant strategist, Ahithophel, this choice had two immediate and, well, fatal implications.
I mean, just imagine being Ahithophel in that moment. You're the smartest guy in the kingdom, you've just laid out a foolproof path to victory, only to watch your king choose a disastrous, ego-driven fantasy. You know, right there and then, that the rebellion is doomed.
His reaction is chillingly decisive. He rides his donkey home, he calmly puts all his affairs in order, and then he takes his own life. Why? Well, two big reasons. First, the sheer humiliation of having his perfect counsel rejected. And second, he knew with absolute certainty that the rebellion would fail, and he chose to die on his own terms rather than face a traitor's execution from David.
And because of that delay Hushai created, David and all his people successfully make it across the Jordan River. And on the other side, allies emerge, bringing them supplies and allowing David's forces to finally rest, regroup, and prepare for the final battle.
And this really brings us to the core of the story, doesn't it? It's about a timeless human weakness. Absalom had a choice between sound, logical advice that would have won in the kingdom and advice that just told him what he wanted to hear about his own glory. He chose glory, and it led to his ruin. Which leaves us with a question for ourselves. When we seek advice, are we really looking for the hard truth, or are we just looking for the flattering story that makes us the hero?